welcome to part 3, where you are probably all thinking, how on earth do we do all of this? Omnipotent American voice, what do we do? Well, let's start with mindset. How do we increase someone's mindset, which is really their confidence and their mentality as they're approaching a problem? One key tip is to praise their efforts, not their intelligence. When they have worked hard, when they have completed their homework on time, especially if they've done a surplus amount of work for an assignment, you want to praise that. Praising intelligence makes people less willing to take risks and to address challenges, whereas praising efforts encourages the idea that we primarily learn through hard work, so I am praising you for your hard work. Another idea is to give the students some autonomy over the assignments that they'd like to try. If you're juggling some ideas on what to work on, make a list and let the student pick something. They'll be more motivated to work on it and to do well on it. Also, with every session or every other session, have the student write a paragraph about how they see this being relevant to their lives. Whatever you've taught them that day, whether it's math or writing or life emotions, make them write how it is relevant and then discuss it with them. Another tip is to avoid the but word. So for example, this looks great, and what if we also added something else? Sounds way better than, this looks great, but let's add something else. Example 2 hurts their confidence, hurts their mindset. You want to, again, praise the effort that they've already done. Look, you've done a really good job so far, so let's continue that and add to it, as opposed to, but we need to change it. So sharing personal examples of times where something has been challenging to you, or finding an example in history, some fictional example, etc., so long as it's an example where a challenge was overcome and everything was better and happy at the end because they didn't quit or give up. Bring that example to the student and then try to relate that experience to an actual experience that the student is going through, where he or she is maybe giving up, and talk about what kind of results or resolutions would happen if the student didn't give up or if they choose not to tackle a challenge. So let's talk about academics, which are obviously the core of education. One really proven method, which is prominent in regular tutoring as well, is this thing called process facilitation, where you're making sure that they're working hard, where you're verbally saying, keep working hard, stay focused, pay attention, how are we doing, how are we feeling about what we've done so far, and then ask relevant, stimulating questions to the work. Also, there's this method called scaffolding, where a coach takes a big, challenging, daunting assignment and breaks it down into smaller pieces. So, for example, let's say your student has been given a big academic text. Start by picking out some of the big vocabulary words from it, have the student define those words online by themselves, and then put them into sentences. Next, give them a chunk of the text that touches on the core content of the entire text. Have them read it, summarize it, comprehend it, evaluate it, so they get what's going on in context. Then you give them the entire text to read. This is so much better than just plopping the entire text in front of them saying, read it and let's talk about it. We've broken it down. They already have an understanding of the content of the reading. They can look over the big scary words because they've already learned them. It's just a better method. One big idea in TLC coaching is something called inquiry-based learning, where you don't give an answer right away. You don't give them direct step-by-step instruction, or when they ask a question, you don't immediately give the answer. You get the student to answer for themselves. If they say, well, how does this equal this? You could say, I don't know. Why don't we Google it and try to figure it out? That makes students take the initiative to learn it on their own, which leads to better learning habits in the long run. This is also a good method to use if you yourself don't know the answer. You could show them how you would seek to find the answer. Another great method is to have the student teach you something. You could say, hey, next session, I want you to give me a lesson about why these chemicals reacted this way, or whatever it is that they're struggling in. It's a great way for them to learn the material and prove how much that they know it by teaching it to you. So if your student has a preferred method or strategy that they really stick to, try to change their toolkit a little bit. Give them something that you might use to approach a problem, or find some alternative methods online or from our resources about how to address a problem, and give those tools to your student instead, so they have a whole arsenal of options to attack a problem with in the future. Okay, so EQ is way harder to teach because a lot of it is from life experience that you have that your students don't, or that people older than us have that we don't. One basic tip is using narratives, which are just an incredibly powerful, magical way to open up the mind to new ideas, new mindsets, new emotions, new vocabulary words to describe those ideas, mindsets, and emotions. Find things that strike you and make you say, hey, this news story really makes me think of my student and how they could relate to it. So narrative is a beautiful way of putting your student in the shoes of someone else, It's up to your discretion what you choose, but it's a great way to garner discussion about new emotions. So this leads into an idea of how expressing emotions is a huge, beautiful way of resolving conflict, narrowing down how you're feeling, and therefore mitigating and preventing problems. Basically, this is why toddlers throw tantrums, why adults spark a violent temper. It's when words fail them. When there's an inability to explain how you're feeling, this can cause you to fall onto primal instincts, really, and those more extreme reactions will do a better job in your mind if you can't express the emotion of how you're feeling to the other person. This is far less likely to happen if you have the words to describe the emotions instead of referring to an extreme action. So you could, as a coach, create a list of words that describe emotional scenarios that your student is going through, and then have them learn new words and synonyms, pull out a thesaurus, and use those words in sentences that really explain and describe something that the student can understand and attach to. Going back to prosocial behavior, this is not about teaching them how to smile or how to greet people, but getting them to think about it. So maybe give them a study that explains how smiling is proven to improve success, or just pull out a picture of someone who's smiling versus someone who's not smiling and ask them how they would, who they would trust more, have them explain why, ask, well, how might this affect you or change what you think about smiling? And this could depend and should be catered to your own student. If you find that the student doesn't ask a lot of questions, you might want to find something that garners more to asking questions. But it's just encouraging the thinking about the use of prosocial behaviors. So that is a really quick sum up that helps you unlock your brain to the world of TLC coaching. And honestly, no guide will ever be enough to individually tailor your lessons to your specific individual student's needs, but hopefully you'll be able to use this tool in the future to inspire some great coaching ideas to tailor your focus for your student and find out exactly where or why your student is struggling and then how to address it. And of course, go to the CR folder and we will post more videos. So follow us and always use our resources that we give you. So congrats, you guys. You're going to be great, and thanks for watching.